Hey guys, DC Network here, coming at you with another video. I feel like this is the 6th or 5th video I've made discussing a new wave of Cartoon Network Funko Pops. We recently talked about how Space goes Coast to Coast and Chowder got their own Funko Pops along with a new Mad Jack Funko from Samurai Jack, as well as some other merchandise coming out for Cartoon Network shows. I'll leave a card above to that video if you haven't seen it yet. But in that video I was saying how I hope they continue this trend of making more merchandise for some of these classic Cartoon Network series, because over the span of time, Cartoon Network has been pretty notoriously bad at releasing merchandise for their shows. I remember as a kid how exciting it was to get that Happy Meal series for Cartoon Network shows because we just straight up didn't get merchandise for these series. Let me know down in the comment section below if you remember what I'm talking about. They had two waves. They had one for Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends exclusively, and then they had a separate one with a variety of Cartoon Network shows. Like, I remember there was a Camp Lazlo little like pen puppet or pencil puppet. It was a little Camp Lazlo plushie you put on top of your pencil. I probably still have it somewhere in my house, but those were always cool back in the day. But nevertheless, we're getting another wave of Cartoon Network series Funko Pops, this time coming from the world of Ed, and Eddy, and there's a total of 5 Funko Pops that we'll be releasing. First up, we have Ed, who as you can see here, is kind of just a regular version of Ed. He's just standing still there. It looks great. We have Double D, who again, just a regular Double D standing there with his, magnifying glass in hand. You have Eddy, who you can see is kind of doing that pose, I think, from the intro of the show where he's kind of just like sliding with his hands out there. Then there are 2 others on top of which, and these 2 are rather interesting for a variety of reasons. One of which is we have a Chase variant of Ed where he's kind of in his crazy mode that we see him get in some episodes where his eyes start spinning red and his teeth start jutting out of his mouth. To me, it's a rather interesting figure to be doing here. I'm not in love with it per se, but it's an interesting figure that they're adding to this lineup. And the last figure is quite frankly the most confusing one to me, and that is that we're getting a Funko Pop of Sarah. Yes, Ed's little sister is getting a Funko Pop in this Ed and Eddy series, and this one's just rather confusing to me for a variety of reasons. It just seems like a random inclusion to be having in this wave of Ed and Eddy Funko Pops. Like, I could think of a couple of different characters that would have been better suited for this 5th slot. Like, how cool would it have been to have a Plank Funko Pop? It's just a giant plank that comes out in this wave of Ed and Eddy Funkos. I would have been all over that. Also, they could have done other characters from the show like Ralph or Kevin or Naz, or it would have made more sense maybe if this was a 2-pack where you get Jimmy and Sarah together, because Sarah on her own doesn't make a whole lot of sense here to me. Overall, I do like this wave of Funko Pops. I will be picking up the 3 standard Eds. I'm not a huge fan of the Chase variant of Ed, nor am I a fan of the Sarah as we just went through. But overall, I'm just happy to see they're continuing the trend of adding more merchandise for these classic Cartoon Network series. I do hope we get more. I've noticed what they've done from time to time, or what they have been doing I should say, is for some reason they never really add on to former series of Funko Pops. And what I mean by this is, excluding Samurai Jack and Adventure Time, every other Cartoon Network series that has gotten a line of Funko Pops has never gotten more added to that line outside of the initial wave. So what I mean by this is, for example, with Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends, they had a wave of Funko Pops, right? It came out with Blue, Mac, and Eduardo, and there was also a Chase variant of Eduardo that was flocked, where the figure had kind of like this velvet, finish to it to emulate the fur that is on Eduardo's skin. So those came out, and I remember at the time when I picked all those up, I didn't get the flocked one of Eduardo, but I have, Blue, Mac, and the regular Eduardo, and I remember saying, wow, this is so cool. I can't wait until they release a second wave of this, where we get Wilt, Coco, maybe Mr. Harriman, maybe Madam Foster, maybe Frankie, maybe we get Cheese. The list could go on and on with all of the different friends that are found in the Foster's home, but yet we never got a second wave, and that's all we have to date. Same thing goes for some other series as well. Like, we had years ago a wave of regular show Funko Pops, and that line's never been revisited. Those Funko Pops are extremely expensive. I don't own any of them because that was way before I was even into the Cartoon Network Funko Pop line. So it would be nice to see some modern, updated versions of those characters for people who weren't there for Wave 1. They do this with all different shows, and I just kind of wonder how they pick and choose which shows actually get Funko Pops, because Ed and Eddy is a great choice, right? But another series that would also be a great choice is maybe a 5-pack from Codename Kids Next Door. Maybe you get number 1 through number 5 in a 5-pack. Or another choice that would be great is like a 3-pack from The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy. You get Billy, Mandy, and Grim. That would be so cool to see as well, but yet yet for some reason, whenever they release Funko Pops, they choose one select show to then never revisit it again, which again is rather unfortunate because I would like to see them bolster their lineup of merchandise even further. It's good to see that we're getting these Ed and Eddy Funko Pops, and by the way, I forgot to mention these are coming out on May 27th of this year, being 2025, if you're looking to get your hands on these. But it'd be great to see a larger wave of Cartoon Network Funkos. I didn't mention this in a prior video actually, but they did have, Funko has this thing, if you don't know, they have something called Funko Pop Digital, which essentially is like selling NFTs but for Funko trading cards, and they actually did have a Cartoon Network wave earlier last year. I've never been into these because quite frankly I'm not into buying NFTs, I just don't really see the appeal to them. But for the Funko version of NFTs, Funko Pop Digital, when you get these cards, you actually have the opportunity to pull a special variant which allows you to then buy a physical figure of the card you've gotten, and you get exclusive characters that way. Like for example, the one I had my eye on was they had Eustace with the mask on from the intro of Courage the Cowardly Dog, that green boogeyman like mask. So they've done that before, right? So hopefully they continue to bolster their lineup. Obviously we have these new Funkos coming out. We just had the Funko's release of Chowder, we had Space Ghost Coast to Coast, we had Mad Jack, we have the Used To's figures coming out. So overall it's a good indication that Cartoon Network is actually trying to put more merch out there for their classic series, and hopefully it's something that they don't stop here. Hopefully it's something they continue to build upon, just like they've been doing with their home media releases. We've been getting more and more complete series box sets ever since the 30th anniversary. Granted, it's kind of at a slow as molasses pace. I would like to see them go a bit faster than what they've been doing. Like, where's the Ben 10 complete series box set for the original series, Alien Force, Ultimate Alien, and Omniverse? I know you can buy all of the original series, Alien Force and Ultimate Alien, on DVD, but there's no way to get all of Omniverse, so it'd be nice maybe to do one giant box set for maybe $200-300 where you have the entirety of the Ben Prime timeline in one DVD box set. That would be so sick to get, but yet we're sitting here waiting for stuff like that to happen, and we're seeing a slow as molasses pace with these merchandise, these Funko Pops as well. Anyways, let me know down in the comment section below what you guys think about all this. What do you guys think about these new Funko Pops that are coming for Ed and Eddy? Are you going to pick any of them up? And do you agree with me that Sarah being the 5th figure is just a very odd choice that kind of came out of left field? Like, I would understand if they just stopped at the 3 Eds and didn't even do a chase variant, but for some reason they added 2 more on, and they were rather interesting choices to say the least. If you guys enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe to see more content like this from DC Network. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.